Good morning. We're here at Norgrove Vineyard down in Arroyo Grande. This is our Chardonnay site. Super excited to be here. It's a beautiful winter morning. We're getting close to spring here. You see a little bit of bud break happening in the Chardonnay here. A little bit about this vineyard and why we started working with this vineyard. If you can see just over my right shoulder, you can see the ocean. The Pacific Ocean's right there. It's about 3 miles away. Straight shot. The prevailing northwest winds blow right over this vineyard from the ocean, so it's a really cold, really windy site. And that's what really got me excited about working with this vineyard. We have beautiful soils here and a really intense marine climate that really fits into what we're doing with Ecoria. This is a truly coastal vineyard. Makes really nervy, really bright, really acidic, really fresh Chardonnays. We farm this block here, which is actually a south-facing block of the vineyard that is one of the highest Chardonnay blocks in the vineyard. It's on a nice, relatively gentle to going to a very steep south-facing slope. So a little bit of history about why we ended up here at Norgrove Farm. So a few years ago, I was taking a tour of some new vineyard plantings that were down here on the San Luis Obispo coast, and a vineyard manager that I know said, "Hey, we have some new Chardonnay plantings going on, but there's also some Pinot Noir." And I said, "Well, I don't make Chardonnay, but I'll come take a look at the plantings." And actually, the Chardonnay, I think, is actually really in the best spot of the vineyard. So I came up to this particular block, and I'm standing here and I'm seeing the ocean over my shoulder, and I thought, this is a pretty good spot for Chardonnay. And it was cold that day. It was in the middle of the growing season. It was windy and it was cold, and it really made me feel like this is the kind of site that I would want to make Chardonnay from. One thing that's interesting about here on the Slow Coast is because we are so close to the ocean, we don't have a really strong winters here. So in Paso Robles, most of the vines are all still asleep because it's nice and cold in Paso. Here on the coast, the winters are definitely not as cold and extreme, so we tend to get bud break much earlier here on the coast, which is one of the reasons why the growing season is also so long, is because we're picking about normal time, but we're starting the season a little bit earlier. So here we are the first week of March. We already have full bud break and about 3 inches of shoot growth, where most vineyards in Paso Robles haven't even woken up yet. And so here we have a double cane system for pruning. So this is cane prune with 4 canes. The reason that there's 4 canes is because it's so windy here, yields tend to be very low. The clusters tend to be quite small and they tend to shatter a lot. So we've added additional canes here to help us get an economical yield. Otherwise the yields are just too low. So as we come through, we'll end up coming through and thinning out some of these shoots in a couple of weeks and regulating the crop load a little bit that way. So we'll knock off shoots so we have nice spacing, because there's going to be a lot of foliage that we're going to try to get into the wires here. So we are going to have to regulate it a little bit. So the soils here at Norgrove are super interesting. This essentially is an uplifted seabed. So this section of the San Luis Obispo coast, all these soils are from what's called the Miocene epoch. So this is a time when there was a lot of inland seas. So all the material here, as you can see, it's almost pure rock. It's very gravelly. It's essentially a decomposed shale with sort of some almost cementatious elements going on with it kind of fused together. But it's definitely the remnants of an ancient estuary or an ancient seabed that's then been weathered down like this. So this is one of the things that's really exciting. We're up on top of a hill here, so the soils are quite thin, and it's basically just this kind of gravelly shale for all the way down. The thing that we love about these marine soils is that because they're so gravelly, there's actually about equal or more rock than there is soil. We have really good drainage, allows for a good amount of stress on the vines, further keeps our yields even lower, which are already low because of the windy, cold nature of the site, but the soils themselves also help regulate the crop and also give us a really nice minerality to the wines. So this wine's super bright, super mineral, lots of kind of high-tone citrus, tiny bit of sort of underripe pineapple, get a lot of minerality to it. It's kind of a flintiness to it. There's a hint of shade of that kind of new oak that we put on it, because we do put a tiny bit of new French oak on it. But it really has that kind of salty sea breeze aromatic. One of the highlights of the wine is this super fresh acidity, so super crisp, super mineral, tons of acidity, really hints at great ageability. It's got a really beautiful color to it. It's obviously not a deep golden Chardonnay. It's got this almost, light, almost greenish hue to it. Paired with oysters, I think lemon zest when I think this. So I'm thinking about things that have lemon zest on, like a really good summer farro salad with grated lemon zest on it. Oysters would be great. Definitely a variety of seafoods. Scallops. I love scallops. Scallop crudo. That's a good call. Scallop crudo. That sounds great. So this is our Chardonnay block here at Norgrove Farm. We're viewing this from the actual train. We're here on the train track with Peter, the owner, very passionate about trains. And this is the south-facing hillside where all of our Chardonnay comes from right here.